You get the email I sent or piece all feed?
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you.
Time to read it, but I don't worry about it.
Just, finish it
Right now.
Hello.
How are you?
It's wet.
Good.
Oh. Hello, Kelvin. Dan. How's it going?
How's it going?
We're here.
We do have a
Delete
quorum.
anything. No, it's all good.
Is-
Okay.
Is Commissioner Greif coming?
No.
Okay, so I can see. Oh, we're recording.
Yes, we are recording.
Look like I take my hat off.
Yeah, I did too.
For the flags of the.
Good evening. The December 16th, 2025 Whatcom County Planning Commission meeting is called to order. I'll call the roll. Sullivan Bart, that's me, I'm here. Fred Brown. Fred Brown. Daniel Dunn. Here. Anita Eisenberg. Anita Eisenberg. Nicholas Gray. Nicholas Gray. Jim Hanson.
Here.
Julie Jefferson.
Here.
Dominic Materi.
Here.
Yeah. Scott Van Dalen.
Here.
Please join me for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag, of the United States of America,
and
to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so it's time for department update. Planning director, Mark Personius.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't really have anything since last Thursday, just, we've been, all hands on deck on doing, flood, response and recovery, and, we've had teams of staff going out, the last couple of days doing, damage assessments. So we could get, in support of the disaster declaration. So, that's about all I got.
Thank you. Right, now open session for public comments. Eileen is our planning commission coordinator. Would you take over, please?
Yes, welcome to the meeting. The meeting is being broadcast live and the recording will be uploaded to the website. As stated on our website, you can view in via Zoom or calling in. If you are calling in and you wish to speak, you can press *6. If you're attending and you wish to speak, you can do via Zoom. You can press the hand icon and I can call on you shortly. We will call on those in the room first. Now, this is the open session, so please do not speak on the public hearing topic, which is Chapter 2 land use. You can speak on any other topic you would like, and you will be given 3 minutes to speak. I'll start in the room first. Brian Gass.
Speak here at the podium, is that way it's here?
Yes.
Or you just stand behind somebody? Makes it very fancy. My name is Brian Gass. I live just right down the street from you guys right now. I appreciate everybody being here. I know we start talking about the flooding and we realize that there's some bigger fish to fry right now for some folks. But one of the things that happens, I wish that I never walked into a planning meeting in Bellingham by somebody directed me there and started learning about this comprehensive plan and some of the things that are being said. Well, you know, I do own a real estate company, but I also have a charity and I also have a blog and a podcast. And I started it because, I started this because I am a real estate agent, but one of the things I think is being lost in planning now is, like all things that started probably with good intentions, is morphed into really a life-changing and altering policies. And that is I'm not speaking directly from the land use, but I can speak about the comp plan, right? Just in general. Am I allowed to speak on that? No.
As long as it has nothing to do with chapter 2.
Yeah, well, it will later, but not today. My point is that I started learning that, you know, our government has gone from being somebody who helps things go along, and it's morphed into the number one place for things to not happen. And what I just want everybody to remember is, I said this to the Bellingham meeting yesterday, you guys in planning and government, there's only one place that controls, there's only one entity that controls what gets built, who gets to build it, how much it's gonna cost, and where it's gonna go. And that is our government and our planning departments. And it's not fair that the number one goal, almost like the movie or the TV show The Wire, I feel like our government has morphed into these self-fulfilling, they want their own survival, and they don't really care or have lost about what they're designed to do. Everybody, I know, I'm old. I was able to buy a house at 4 times the median income in Bellingham, and now it's like 8 times. That's unacceptable. And what I say is anybody who's in this room that talks about planning, talks about doing things going forward, you gotta keep in mind that you're asking these future residents and younger people to have a lower standard of living, a lower financial outcome for the policies that you're making. And they're arbitrary, they're not set in stone. Wetlands is this moving target, land use is a moving target. It's a way to, I believe, get governments to do less and accept less from their people. Whatcom County's budget for employees is up 55% in the last 7 years. Bellingham's is probably tripled from 2005 when I looked. Yet, what exactly are we getting for that? What I'm saying is start paying attention to the people's lives that you're changing forever, who are trying to get affordable housing here. And the way you do that is you get capacity unlocked and you stop hoarding it or blocking it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Dwayne Inglesman?
Commissioners, thank you for all your hard work.
Thanks for your letter.
Yeah, I'm Dwayne Nilsman. I'm a property owner of Whatcom County in Birch Bay. I'm here this evening to voice my opinion that the county is currently experiencing a housing shortage. In order to address this crisis, we must have the developable land upon which housing can be provided. I have extensive knowledge of every parcel of land in Birch Bay, and I would recommend that this commission reevaluate the decision not to include the 3 properties requesting to be included in the Birch Bay UGA. I personally know the 3 properties and their respective owners. All 3 of these properties have had their wetland reports completed, and there are real housing solutions on all 3 of these properties. The owners are ready, willing, and able to move forward with real housing solutions this year, next year, when they are incorporated in the UGA. I recently completed Division A of the Whisper Lake plat. 36 homes were built and sold out within 18 months. There was no shortage of buyers ready, willing, and able to purchase those affordable houses in Birch Bay. The current suggestion to council is to upzone properties within the urban growth area. This is not a viable solution, and in fact is restricting the implementation of the county's comprehensive plan. Several months ago, I researched the properties that were developed in Birch Bay over the last 24 months. Most, if not all of those homes were infill from previous subdivisions. Those infill lots are primarily for single family homes and in most cases required reasonable use designation to be built. The infill lots are in short supply and most of this inventory has been developed. The remaining larger parcels that are within the urban growth area have extensive wetlands and development restrictions on those properties is severely challenged. I would suggest again that this planning commission look at the bigger picture and assist Birch Bay in becoming a well-planned master community that recognizes that some thought was actually implemented when it was designed. How much time do I have? 32 seconds. The property at 4610 Lincoln Road, if you allow that into the UGA, The sewer line will come up, it will serve the 60 acres that is currently in the UGA, and you'll have 80 acres that can be developed right away for affordable housing. The owner of 4610 is prepared to sign a covenant for low-income housing that we should jump on right away. The property at 7850 Blaine Road, again, water and sewer are right at, I'm done, are right at the property line. Again, this should be brought into the UGA. Lastly, Kaluna Properties was all three of these were previously in the urban growth area of Birch Bay. They need to be brought back in. These owners are ready, willing, and able to give you housing immediately. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments.
Daniel Probst, do you wish to speak at this time? Okay. Seeing no one else in the room that wishes to speak during this open public comment session, we're gonna move to the attendees. I see one hand raised. Kathleen Greenbaum, do you wish to speak at this time? I will remind you, this is to not speak on the land use chapter, but you can speak on anything else. Kathleen Greenbaum, do you still wish to speak at this time?
Yes, did I just hear you say that you do not want comments on the land use chapter?
That is correct. We have a public hearing. You can speak on it during that time.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to speak on.
You're very
That wasn't clear to me. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands, Chair?
Okay, thank you, Eileen. So now it's time for commissioner comments. Any commissioner comments? Seeing no hands up. And let's move along to the meeting topic and is it Lauren, are you handling it? And Lucas? Oh, there's Matt.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
We had a work session on chapter 2 at your last meeting, so there's no additional presentation.
Okay,
So I think we can go right to the public hearing
Oh,
and then
thank
we
you.
can discuss after
okay.
Yep.
All right,
Okay.
so Eileen, public hearing, would you take over? Please?
Yes. As stated before, this meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to our county website. We will begin with those in the room. We are given 3 minutes. This is on chapter 2 land use. You may not speak on any other topic other than the chapter 2 land use. We will start with those in the room. I'll go back down the list. Brian Gass, do you wish to speak at this time?
Yes. Okay, unless you forgot, my name's Brian Gass, live here right down the street. Like I want to finish up on this thing with the land use is, I want you to know that I know the county's in charge of the UGA and I guess the GMA, right, or the different UGAs. One of the things that I think is happening is there's a lot of gamesmanship or deception happening. I hate to put it that way, but when you guys are putting out, oh, there's like in Bellingham's instance, oh, they said in 2005, they had room for 10,000 buildable lots and they permitted 2,400 in 20 years. Or they'll say, oh, we have plenty of land. And this is the thing that comes up with this Birch Bay issue is, you know, if the county and the state and the city were honest about the buildable land they have, you guys are worse than Ticketmaster when it comes to like surprise charging. Because it's like you think you have 100 acres, but they say there's 100. But like in Bellingham's instance, I think North Bellingham Golf Course has been sitting on one of their UGA's as buildable land. But in the reality is, they start with this 100 acres and then they take away the slopes and the wetland and the critical areas and the fact there might be a stream in it, or they could be in the middle of the ocean. Who cares? My point is, it's not buildable. Nobody can build it. So when you guys say like, if you really were concerned about affordable housing, we wouldn't be in this issue that we're in right now. We wouldn't be choking off development. And that's what the goal is I've seen for every planning department that I run into. I'd like the county to really look at Bellingham's abomination of a comprehensive plan that literally has, I know you're probably not supposed to say, but it's land use. The issue is that they literally have been saying they're going to reduce the size of their city. Only the government would come out and say that their growth plan is to shrink. And I don't think that your hope on trying to upzone and squeeze, you know, into these little tiny areas, That's great. You should do that in addition to being able to provide decent homes for people to live in or apartments to rent, because that's gonna be a problem as well soon. We have issues with declining enrollment for schools. Where do you think that money's coming from? Sure, I've got time. I just want everybody to start really recognizing that that UGA or that plan that's coming from Bellingham is not truthful. They own over 50% of the buildable property on the U Street UGA. They have no intention of expanding any of their UGAs. Over 20 years, they said they would do 15. They did 0. And what happened? They end up essentially, you know how I know they didn't have any intentions on building, on annexing any? They didn't buy a single acre property except 25 acres in Geneva that they bought for their open space or parks. That's all they did. They have no intention of expanding, and they're gonna try and jam everybody into apartments and duplexes, and that does not serve the purpose of anybody. What I'd like to do is, I used to grow up in Blaine and Birch Bay. I appreciate the fact there's opportunity for people to buy homes at an affordable price, so families can live here and not have to move somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Dwayne Inglesman, do you wish to speak?
Can I postpone? I think Bill Geyer is here. He'd like to sign in and speak. You can go ahead. Okay, thanks.
Bill Geyer, I'm gonna write your name down.
Staff and the commission. Good evening, commissioners. For the record, Bill Geyer, Geyer Associates. I've handed to the clerk copies of my letter that was emailed to you earlier today, about hours ago. And I'll touch on some of the key points regarding the comprehensive plans land use element. Appreciate the time that you're taking on this tonight, for this opportunity. Some of the key points, beginning with the first paragraph there, where I identified that I believe that there are deficiencies in the land use element as it relates to meeting the GMA mandate specifically for affordable housing. And I believe that this commission, you are the appropriate body to pursue this, these deficiencies and direct corrective action prior to forwarding your comp plan recommendation to the county council. Specifically, you'll note in my first page there, identified the RCW that provides, as you're well aware, the housing element that you need to provide in our comp plan, but particularly on page 2, you look at the top there where I bolded, it's related to 3678-070A, D as in Delta, subletter I, subletter 2, specifically, that you need to incorporate in the land use element consideration for low, very low, extremely low, and moderate income households. And number 2, very important, documenting programs and actions needed to achieve housing availability, including gaps in local funding, barriers such as development regulations, and other limitations. I don't believe that the land use element currently does that. When you go down to the bottom of page 2 there, you'll see my last paragraph where it has an ability that the RCW says that you can have specific regulations to achieve that. And interesting enough, it says in the bottom paragraph that those regulations that increase housing capacity and increase housing affordability are not subject to administrative nor judicial appeal under 4321C. What does that mean? It means that you have preferential treatment as a county to put those types of regulations in place. When you turn to page 3, I'm asking you to consider 2 policies that Bellingham has adopted in its comp plan regarding regulatory reform. And you've got Clifton in there. That's policy H1 and H2, which basically directs that the city will remove barriers to housing, particularly to affordable housing. Obviously, you'd adjust that to speak to the county. And I've identified a very specific policy I'd recommend in the middle of page 3, reduce barriers to affordable housing through permissive land use and navigable permitting and review processes. This can be most directly performed in the Birch Bay UGA. My previous testimony regarding 4610 Lincoln meets the GMA requirements for having affordable housing. I believe the land use element is deficient in its Birch Bay UGA analysis by not providing for affordable housing. I thank you for your time tonight. I'll be here throughout the day.
Dwayne Inglesman?
Am I allowed to speak with individual properties or?
As long as it's about the land use chapter.
Yes. I think the Birch Bay is in the unincorporated county, Whatcom County. And as such, I believe it is the responsibility of that agency to write the capital facilities plan. And that's part of the land use. In the spring of 2025, an EIS was prepared and the county has been fully informed that a capital facility plan was required. And as it being the responsibility of the county to write that plan, the county has not fulfilled its duty in this regard. That affects all of the three properties that we're considering to bring into the urban growth area. And those properties at one time were in the urban growth property. Not much has changed in Birch Bay. So there's a little bit of smoke and mirrors as to say, well, now we need to rewrite these plans when we know that the water and sewer is available on these properties along with other services. Yeah, if you do a little deeper dive into the two properties, I'm not sure about the Lincoln Road property, but the Kaluna property and the 7850 Blaine Road, when they were first removed out of the urban growth area, there was a path forward to bring them back by application to the county, to bring them back into the urban growth area. Over the years, county councils have seemed to erode that path forward, and I think that's been an error. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you, sir.
Daniel Probst, do you wish to speak?
Thank you. My name is Daniel Probst. I'm the project lead for the Bellingham Mount Baker Trail and the Lake Whatcom Loop trails. These are two long distance trails, both of them over 50 miles in length. I've talked to the commission before about this during the Chapter 9 review. In the land use chapter map, those trails are shown on the maps there. So I'd like to comment on those, and I have three specific motions that I'd like you to consider tonight. Motion number one is to add the Lake Whatcom Loop Trail to map 2-3. Motion number two would be to update the 2025 trail corridor for the Bellingham Mount Baker Trail.
Talk slower, I'm writing this down.
Okay, there. And I did send these in an email, so you should have, should have. Motion number two is to update the 2025 trail corridor for the Bellingham Mount Baker Trail on map 2-3. And then motion number three is to scale the map, scale map 2-3 to show the Bellingham Mount Baker Trail end to end. So currently there's 5 miles missing on the map, and those 5 miles are existing Forest Service trails. And so I think it's important to show what exists out there right now. So when you look at the totality of the trail, you can see where the gaps are. And I think that's important for planning this. And so those are the three motions I'd like you to consider tonight. The current flooding has wiped out, right now, Mount Baker Highway is closed. It washed out Glacier Creek Road again. Middle Fork Road is washed out. So all these access points to our open space, we're losing right now. And it's both an immediate effect and long-term effect. It could take years to get access back. And local businesses that are in the rural community rely on access to public lands to operate. And so by supporting more trails, that gives us redundancy in where businesses can operate and start up. And to show you how difficult it is without these access to public lands, right now, Stewart Mountain LLC has actually stopped issuing $75 recreation permits. In their current recreation lease, if you want to buy a lease, their current lease is $3,872. So it's public lands and open space are really
Thank you
important.
for your
Thank you.
comment.
Thank you.
For those joining in, this is a public hearing for Chapter 2 Land Use and 2025 Comprehensive Plan Update. If you wish to speak right now, you can. Do you wish to speak on this chapter?
Oh, I did understand it was starting at 6:30, at least it said so online. Did we talk about how far north that city UGA is going? Have we touched on that yet?
It's the public hearing for the Chapter 2 Land Use, and Birch Bay is currently part of it.
Mix it in.
Okay, yeah, so guess I have 3 minutes.
Yes, and please say your name for the record.
Stephanie Owens. Again, I'm really not sure where we're at in this conversation, but we just heard word from our neighbor that the city is planning on moving north with the city limits, including the south side of West Larson Road, which is where we live. And of course, we just want to voice our concerns about getting annexed into the city. Another property that we do own in Bellingham was annexed into the city, and of course, all of our bills went through the roof. Yet we're not seeing any city services. Our groundwater is still heading north, yet we're paying nearly $800 a month for the impervious services. So of course, we're concerned that the same is going to apply to West Larson Road. Right now, we're four homes on the south side of the road, and I can't imagine storm drainage, whatever that's called, is going to be coming up that way. We assume with Chi-Tech's development, that's just going to come north from that most recent development, all of the city, what do they call, services. So that's pretty well all I have to say. We don't want it, but yeah, okay.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
comment.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the room? Do you wish to speak? Okay, seeing no other attendees in the room, I'm gonna go to those online. I see only one hand raised, Kathleen Greenbaum. This is on the Chapter 2 Land Use. Will we
Hi,
get 3 minutes?
Kathleen Greenbaum. I was a little confused about how to make my public comment. I'm asking the county through the Planning Commission for the county to acknowledge naturally occurring asbestos problem and needed countywide mapping. For the county to own responsibility to warn and educate the public of the county naturally occurring asbestos issue and incorporate that knowledge into its code, publications, and websites. And also for the county to encourage state level action and funding on naturally occurring asbestos health issues and request adequate statewide code and mapping be enacted. When the county sought input of the items to raise with the state, I informed them of including the naturally occurring asbestos issue. And I also sent out a letter for the Swiss meeting that's happening later this week. I don't understand the county's hesitancy to confront the naturally occurring asbestos issue head on. Between Swift Creek contamination and the DNR documented presence on the west side of Sumas Mountain, how can the county continue to sidestep this health and safety issue? This is not just a Swift Creek localized problem, and it's the perfect time to cover this in the updating of the comprehensive plan and the natural hazards mitigation plan. You can say we don't know where naturally occurring asbestos is located, but the county can confirm the need to identify where naturally occurring asbestos is located and the need to construct maps, code, and guidelines. The county can write and enforce Whatcom County Code 22.15, code compliance procedures, which currently is just a placeholder. And the county can enforce Whatcom County Code generally. Basically, the county can take action. So the county needs to acknowledge and map naturally occurring asbestos, accurately publicize the naturally occurring asbestos health hazard, and push Washington State to own naturally occurring asbestos as a statewide problem. Especially with the flooding that's going on right now, I'm particularly curious how those sedimentation containment beds are holding up, the holding ponds. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time and thank you for getting me the link so quickly.
Absolutely. Thank you for your comment. I'm seeing no other hands raised online, Chair.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Hey, Commissioners. Maybe I can just start, because I went for a little drive down, 4610 Lincoln Road, and I went down both sides of Lincoln. The property's right in the middle. And sitting there with water right there, and particularly on the west side, what we're doing is, you're seeing, there's been a fair amount of housing built on the west side, not so much on the east side. And that property is all flat, and we've been told the utilities are there. So it was really interesting to look at. There's quite a bit of property in there.
There it is.
I don't have a proposal. I just decided to go take a drive there and take a look at it. Sure, what would you like to do here?
I have kind of some questions and comments, but if anybody else does, well, we could just kind of start from the top of the chapter, or how do you guys wanna?
That sounds good. We have the comments from last week to address. Want to roll through those first?
Oh, sure, that makes sense.
Okay. Eileen, bring that one up.
No, that's not here. So Commissioner Hanson, these are your comments.
Yeah, you all read the comments. I do have a policy suggestion. You see there. So, at that piece is in where it says we're gonna open up the comp plan to UGA amendments next year. And I'm not very happy with the bait and switch and the presentations on the urban growth area, and I'm not very, and the reserve, I'm not very happy with what I consider elevated and exaggerated figures on the growth distribution plan. I think they're founded on a bad population projection. So, and they don't really comply with trying to put the population where the jobs are and where the good transportation is, and in compliance with the need to have minimal additional vehicle miles. So my amendment is, yeah, you can go take another shot at your UGA and UGAR boundaries, but let's make those suggested changes based on a more realistic set of growth projections and more congruent to the to the job distribution. So it's kind of a long sentence there. I think that's consistent with the position I've been taking throughout these discussions.
Question with
Go
that.
ahead.
Great work for Mark. I think the plan is currently to reevaluate UGARs, next year and the year after. I think this motion brings up a good point. What's the process for that? How are we planning on saying, yep, we're gonna bring in this UGAR, or make this UGAR, or not make this one?
The city and county staffs will jointly meet to review those next year and converse about, we've talked about, possibly redefining what an urban reserve is as well. So that's a conversation that we need to have with the cities. What does it really mean? Right now, it's not a GMA requirement. It's a Whatcom County thing that we came up with as a signal to property owners and urban service providers of where cities want to grow in the future. And And but it's a designation right now. So especially for cities that have urban growth area reserves, overlay on ag lands, then that means that we have to go through the de-designation process. Which is a whole other thing, GMA requirement, and it's a challenge. So, part of the conversation with the cities would be, what if we redefine it, or maybe just be an overlay district and not have a regulatory effect, just signaling to property owners and to urban service providers, sewer providers, water providers, fire districts, school districts, et cetera, that, hey, this is a future area where the city intends to grow, just not in the current planning period. So that's kind of the genesis of the conversation that we want to have with the cities going forward.
Will the population, kind of figure into that conversation?
There's, well, right now, there is no population allocation given to urban reserves.
Right.
So I wouldn't anticipate we would change that.
Right, that's the point.
Yeah.
So UGARs aren't gonna be changed consistent with population projections?
They don't have a population allocation. Only UGAs have a population allocation, not reserves.
Right, but the cities, the jurisdictions have allocations which they want to use UGAs and UGARs to accommodate, right?
They can only take current population allocation in this cycle and apply it to UGAs. Can't apply it to UGA reserves. It's just a reserve, right? That's all it is.
So this cycle, that means what was described in the EIS, that distribution?
Well, it's what's in the preferred
Right,
alternative.
preferred alternative I don't agree with, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, one of the cities has floated, having these for a 40-year population allocation. So the city county planner group will have to discuss that next year and the implications of that. But historically, and at this point, UGA reserves do not have a population allocation.
So Jim, you made a motion. I don't think you have a second.
Yeah, doesn't even rise to the level of modifying in terms of UGARs. No, I don't seem to have a second yet.
Can you repeat the motion?
Can you see the board, Julie?
Yes.
There we
Number
go.
4 is your motion?
Yeah,
I'll second.
go ahead.
So we're in discussion mode of your motion. So now, did what we just get told though, that it really doesn't apply because of the UGAR?
The UGAR,
Population.
UGAR element.
There's no population things to apply to it. So it really becomes a moot point kind of, is that the way I'm seeing it,
In
or?
terms of UGARs, but it's not moot in terms of UGAs.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Question for that also for Mark, if the cities and county are gonna make UGA changes between the comp plan update periods, would that already be based on population changes, or what would that be based on?
Oh, it could be based on a number of things. It could be based on changed circumstances. It could be population growth. It could be new floodplain designations, things like that. Could be changes in urban service areas, things like that could universally sort of affect UGA proposals. Cities might grow faster than they had planned for. Then they might need to expand those UGAs before the next update, so it would depend. But there's an annual update cycle that's always available to cities and counties to amend their UGAs. But you've got to show that there's what you adopted or the population or employment allocations you adopted aren't coming to fruition, or there's a change circumstance that would suggest that you need to swap the UGA. One area of the UGA with another, the floodplain, the changes in the floodplain designations on the Nooksack were, right, a prime example of that being a sort of a motivator for making changes. So it would depend. But
And if you were gonna use a population number, you probably use the multi-jurisdictional resolution number, not the OFM medium, which is slightly lower than the jurisdictional.
well, right, you'd have to go back through that amendment, amend those numbers. If a city or a county wanted to change those numbers, they just have to go through that amendment process. But that would mean going through with all the jurisdictions and getting a agreement on that, because again, our plans have to be coordinated and consistent, so.
I'm gonna help commissioners speak a little louder because I know some in the back here have been having a little bit harder time hearing you. So want to make sure everybody gets. There you go, project, and I'll try to speak through this, and some of you know that my doctors tell me I have to wear this, and for some of you in the room that don't know me, medical thing that can't be cured, so. And I want to be here and do my job. Oh, yeah.
If there's no more comments, we'll probably take a vote.
I'll make a motion.
But we already have.
We made a motion in a second, so we're,
Well, I move the question or
Yeah.
just vote on
Yeah.
it, huh?
yeah,
You just call for a vote.
Okay.
yep.
Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Henson,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
No.
Van Dalen,
No.
Dunn,
No.
Barton. The motion failed.
Okay, well, my second motion is much more straightforward. It's pretty much explained there. There's no good reason to have direct more population into an area that's already oversaturated to the extent that polluting its watershed. And we have a responsibility to clean up that watershed, not make it worse. So I'd like to just remove that South UGAR.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion?
What is Jim, do you know what Bellingham's comment on this is
Their
right now?
comment was, it's somehow connected to the other part of the UGAR. And it's gonna be difficult for them if we take out part of it, because it puts the rest of it out of balance. That if that isn't what they said, someone please correct me.
Any thoughts, Mark?
Well, it's been in UGA reserve status for some time. And the city looked at it, their recommendation, their proposal was to leave it in reserve status. Because there's a significant amount of open space that they have acquired in that area for the trail system. There wasn't a whole lot of development. In their viewpoint, there wasn't a whole lot of development capacity there. What there was gonna require a significant amount of capital improvements. So new urban services and infrastructure that city felt wasn't warranted, so.
I remember we've discussed this all in another chapter quite extensively.
Yeah.
To the nth degree. Do we know what we ended up with there?
Yes, I think at the, where we ended there was, we took a vote to add, U Street, South U Street into the UGA. And for my memory.
That motion failed.
Motion failed.
Okay.
But I think it was kind of a split vote. So for me, I would, I'd probably make an opposite motion, encourage Bellingham, take, the U Street and put it in the UGA. Because it makes sense from a contiguous basis. It's one chunk that's kind of surrounded by.
I
everything
remember
like
that,
this.
yeah, the lower one on the,
Yep.
to
And
the
then,
right, yeah.
Right, and then that will connect, with water and sewer to, U Street North. And then in that area, there's a number of folks who are ready, willing to build, and do their thing. And those would be, it's fairly, easy access to the freeway, to town. You go over the hill, it just sort of completes the UGA. And you've got all the service, it's already served by police and fire. There's a school right at the top of the hill. I would definitely support bringing that into the UGA, but there was support for that, and I don't think there's support for that in the city. I don't think there's support for that in the county council. So, but keeping it as UGAR, indicates to folks who are there that there is a plan to bring it in the future, hopefully. That and taking it out of the UGAR would be like, nope, you're on your own, never mind. So I would definitely, oppose the motion, and I would support, keeping U Street South as UGAR, and even bring it into the UGA.
Okay, any other comments? Seeing none, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Jefferson,
Yes.
Wasseri,
No.
Van Dalen,
No.
Dunn,
No.
Hanson,
Yes.
Barton.
No.
That motion failed.
Well, since I couldn't get motion number 6 passed, given the rationale for not supporting that, it seems unlikely that number 7 would be favorably looked upon by this group either, so I don't think I will move it. Thanks, Julie.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll just skip that one.
So your next one's Columbia Valley?
Right. I'm definitely opposed to creating rural ghettos. I don't think that the services are out there properly. I don't to support additional population. I think we see with crisis times where we may have some of our roads disrupted. It's not very well connected. Be moving even more people in and out of there. So I think it should be zoned to a lower density instead of a higher density. I just don't think it's appropriate to send more people out in these areas. And basically we're saying, well, I know you can't afford to live where you should be living, and so here's some place it's cheap, and why don't you just move out there? I don't think it's right.
Is this your third motion?
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
As you see, contradicting the vehicle miles traveled section, putting more vehicle miles on an inadequate transportation system.
Commissioner Dunn?
And just to clarify, this is on that, eastern section of the Columbia Valley. Yeah, I would, probably speak against the motion. To me, that's an area that, is, from what I understand, relatively flat, relatively dry, platted, and, so it got an owner who's ready to build. And yeah, it's not the greatest place to live, but as far as I understand, it's not flooding right now. And it's some of the less expensive land that we have, in the county. Yeah, so.
Go ahead, Commissioner Van Dalen.
I would be opposed only because we've already dealt with this in another vote and another, again, it's another item that just keeps coming up that we've already voted on and approved it. Well, in
that's when I
another
brought
chapter.
it up, I thought it was it'd have to be a reconsideration, that's right.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I see where you're at.
But I was told it wasn't, so.
Commissioner Dunn.
I think that's a good point, Scott. I think a lot of stuff that's in the land use chapter, we have already discussed and voted on. And so I think I would generally say, if we've already talked about and voted on it, I will probably not want to reconsider it. Just because I feel like it's, unless there's some major reason to reconsider something else that comes up, but it's just in general, we discussed it, we voted on it, let's move on.
That's what I'm going with.
So, seeing no other discussion, I leave with you.
Kelvin?
Go ahead, I'm sorry, I missed your hand. Go ahead.
Okay, so that's what I want to clarify. This, since we've already talked about it, this is a motion to reconsider, not actually a motion on this topic, right?
No,
It's to reverse a preliminary rezone.
Yeah. Okay. I thought that it was inappropriate to just bring up something we've already dealt with again and just hope for another favor unless there's some change or someone in the prevailing group that decided to bring it back up, which I don't think is the case.
Per Robert's rules, that is correct.
Oh, I was misinformed then, okay. Sorry, I was misinformed, I thought it was gonna be appropriate, my apologies.
Like I said last week, in the Robert's rules, if you want to vote to reconsider, it would have to be during that current public hearing. And you would have to have been present for that to make that
And
motion.
have voted no, right? Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
Yes, you would have had to vote yes on the thing and be like, hey, I want to change my
Right.
vote.
Correct, and it would have had to been stated at that current meeting.
Thank you, Ellie.
Ready for the next one?
Yes.
Hopefully this will not be controversial, because it's gonna be clarifying a paragraph that misdescribes land status on the Lummi Nation Reservation. And many of you probably are quite familiar with the history of status of Native American lands, which were more or less originally communally owned rather than individually. And at a certain point, the federal government wanted to encourage natives to abandon their culture and become farmers. So they started assigning property to families, but it was still in trust status, meaning they couldn't do whatever they wanted to, and they couldn't sell it to non-natives except under certain circumstances. And one of those circumstances that was pretty much abused was a hardship circumstance. So I know Kelvin likes stories. So here's a story about Sandy Point. There was a family that owned that property, and they'd had it for, who knows, from time immemorial. And it was assigned to them under trust ownership by the federal government. And they were coming upon hard times, and a member of their family was really ill, and they couldn't afford the medical care that they needed. So a developer came down to them and made an offer which they really couldn't turn down. That was $200,000 for all of Sandy Point. Then the developer dredged out the channels there and sold $200,000 worth of gravel. So the property basically was theirs for almost nothing. The family, they took care of their problems, I guess, and you know how money's soon gone, but property's there forever. So I think it's just a little blithe the way it was described, as federal policy had been changed. So that's why, and also, so changed, circumvented, and abused, I wanted to add there. And I also want to let you know that tribal members can also own property under fee simple status. It isn't just non-natives that can. Once it becomes fee status, a tribal member can purchase that property and doesn't automatically revert to trust status.
Okay, so you made the motion, and we have a second?
Did we get a second?
Not yet.
Only question I had was it? Did you usually go, okay, I make a motion now?
That would make those changes highlighted in red.
Okay. But what I really would like is for them to be able to highlight in red to be able to be heard on an audio. So add the changes and by Native Americans under fee simple status and as federal policy has been changed, circumvented and abused. And that way, and then it's real easy for Eileen. Probably easy for Eileen anyway, but it's not easy for me. And other than that, I favor this.
We have a second?
We don't have a second.
For a second?
I will hear the second. Commissioner, Don, go ahead.
Just a question, so, in the example you gave, it sounds like, there was a willing buyer and a willing seller, somebody came in and said, I'd like to buy your land, and the person who owned the land said, I'd like to sell my land, and they talked about a price, and they agreed to the price, and then the person paid the person the price. To me, that doesn't, like, just on the face, I don't know all the details about the story, but just the face of it, like, that doesn't sound like abuse. And I guess I'd be cautious about using language like the word abuse or circumvented for a situation where, depending on your perspective, I mean, maybe it wasn't fair in hindsight, and now, you know, years gone by, when I look back at that, maybe that wasn't a fair deal. But I think I'd probably reserve a word like abuse for a kind of a stronger situation.
I'm happy as a friendly amendment to strike abuse and abuse, or strike abused.
And do you have any examples where federal policy was circumvented, where there's like, here's the law, and people like went around?
Well, generally, from my perspective, if you have a breast population with which is also low income, figuring out what the loopholes are to the policy that protects this land from being alienated from trust is basically circumventing. The intent of the law is to keep that land in trust, except under extreme circumstances. And there's too much trust fee land out there for that to be other than finding loopholes to change ownership.
But it would be the people who own the land, tribe members who own the land, who have to find that loophole to sell it.
I'm sure
If they just sell it,
the buyers, I think the buyers knew what the loopholes were, and that the sellers were often under situations of stress that they couldn't drive a fair deal. Because under hardship, right? By definition, hardship means you're in a disadvantaged position as far as making a transactional arrangement with somebody.
I think I would be supportive of this motion of the first part, if it's legally and technically true that the parcels can be owned by non-Indians and by tribe members under fee simple status. Is that, Mark, is that technically correct?
Yeah, the way that the sentence is written, I think it implies that the parcels they're on the reservation, but some are not, some are fee simple.
Yeah.
That's all it's saying. Some are in trust status, some are fee simple. So that's fine.
And can be owned by both.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I guess I'd be more comfortable with, I think the word we're using these days is tribal members. instead of Native Americans. Cause they are members of Lummi tribe.
Not all of them are. Some of them are members of other tribes.
Okay.
Layla being a good example. Down in Marysville.
Jim, can I ask are you offering the friendly amendment?
Sure.
Would take out and abused?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe say after changed, you would say or circumvented
That sounds fine.
and prevalent, yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments? I think would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Van Dalen,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jefferson,
You lost track.
Jefferson, Mosseri,
Abstain.
Barton,
Yes.
that motion passes.
Can we do somebody else's motions for a while?
Sounds good. Fair enough. Eileen, you wanna scroll down a little bit to see who's next on the list there?
There weren't any.
That was it.
I think,
It was all Hanson.
all Hanson, nice job. yeah.
And then there were a few that you asked me to pull up.
Right, we have some Kathleen Greenbaum suggestions, some of which are just Scribner. And some of which are relating to the asbestos.
That's right, were those, was that chunk of ones?
Yeah, so
We did those last time.
we did those in chapter 10.
Right.
And I did add a paragraph, actually 2 paragraphs on naturally occurring asbestos into chapter 10. And we added the policy that you recommended, that I think Ms. Greenbaum recommended as well, about
Natural hazard mitigation plan.
well, it was seeking state, work with the state to map naturally occurring
Right.
asbestos and address health impacts, something like that, yeah.
I know we had a big discussion on it, so
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
It's
I
in,
couldn't tell you what day it was, but there's been too many of them.
it is in chapter 10.
Okay. Whatever day that was, so
Well,
we're good on that.
I have some ones specific that she wrote here that don't totally fall under that, like number 3. Include coordinating with the natural hazards mitigation plan and the climate hazards and impacts in Whatcom County. That's a report, right? Did I get that one right?
Yep.
Okay, so seems like that could be referenced under land use
Yep.
as well.
We can do that.
We can just do that.
Yep.
Boom. She has one, changed country to county. I suppose you could probably do that one.
We can do
too.
that.
Yeah.
Which one? Ivan.
So then I have number 4, I'm wondering to add at the end of the process section, which I'm not sure exactly where that is, and the provision of public services. Add to, and the provision of public services, the mitigation of natural hazards. So is that land use?
Yeah, so that's 2 what page?
It doesn't have.
End of the process section?
Process.
Oh, I see, that's on 2-3.
Okay,
Yeah.
it comes right along. Does that seem to be
Provision
the
of
end?
public services.
Seems like we're really, it's a big topic now, natural hazards and maybe mitigating them.
So if this is on chapter 2, page 2-3.
Yeah.
And the motion is which one?
It's number 4.
Yeah,
So after this, the end of the paragraph and the provision of public services. I think, yeah, we can, it's a narrative section, so we can add
it's not
that.
policy issue.
Most of the mitigation, I believe, is covered in chapter 10, not necessarily in the land use chapter, but that's fine.
Okay, so that's not an issue. And then,
Everybody's okay with it.
Yeah, unless nobody has any objection to that.
Okay, good.
Staff will be happy to make that.
number 7, page 2-14, it would, seems like we should include Sour Creek, Sumas River when we're talking along with the Nooksack River, since we're having a big impact from that right now up in Deming. So we tend to not think about like that the Samish River, for instance, starts in Whatcom County, or the only thing about the Nooksack Basin.
What's the point of it? I guess I'm asking.
Well, when they're talking about places that would have floodplains and or flooding, to include the Sumas River. And that last paragraph, see, I haven't been able to scroll to that to see what that says.
So it looks like current says the majority of the Nooksack River floodplain is currently used for agricultural purposes. That's the first sentence. Were you suggesting we put in Sour Creek, Sumas River along with the Nooksack River? So read the majority of the Nooksack River and Sour Creek, Sumas River floodplain. Currently.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. I have heard anecdotally from the cities that the Sumas did not flood significantly like it had in 21. So yeah. That's good.
That's bad.
Yeah.
The town?
The river.
Oh, the
Oh,
river.
Sumas River.
Where did the
I'm
water
going.
the water
Oh,
come from?
my word.
That was flooding. What?
But we're happy to.
That's horrible, man.
We can add that if you guys don't have any objection, we can just add that to our text.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Here's 110, incomplete sentence. So you can look that one up, okay?
We can do that.
And the other things that tend to be questions, and some of these questions would be towards administration more than planning. So I don't think I have other motions I want to make. Like asking about water testing. I don't think that's a land use planning issue.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
That's gonna go back to it.
water quality testing on and sediment testing on Swift Creek is done by the Department of Health periodically. And actually, I added language to that that describes those that analysis into chapter 10. So,
But I would like to go on the record of thanking Kathleen for taking her time and effort to not just make sentiments known, but also to make a detailed review of what the policies are, and make suggestions. I think if we had more input like that, it would certainly help us.
For sure.
Well, unless you want-
Did I hear you calling me, Calvin?
Yeah.
Yeah, if we're ready to move on to another one, I've got some questions on the maps in the back. Two specific questions. One, the community forest maps that are highlighting the proposed community forests in green. You said you're taking away the public or the private component of that and just gonna leave it designate public owned property. I noticed the maps didn't change. So was that because the maps didn't get updated, or because there actually were no privately owned places that originally would have been classified anyways?
Yeah, so there's no definition of urban and community forest in the Growth Management Act. So the consultant had developed one based upon other information. And yeah, private lands were not included in that mapping effort, so they didn't change. It just shows public lands.
Well, originally it had public in the it had private in the definition. But you're saying they never mapped it that way?
Right, that was just inadvertent omission that we didn't delete that.
Oh, okay. And then my second question is the other maps that are in here, which I don't know where they're referenced in the text, but they are for just vegetated areas that are equal or greater than an acre. What is the point of that mapping?
So that's a new GMA requirement. Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, under House Bill 1181, the GMA was amended to say that the county and counties, cities need to designate green spaces. There's a definition in the GMA of that term, which is kind of repeated here on page 2-114. And then there's associated a goal, TUBV, and policies associated with that. So GIS mapped those areas.
Okay, so those are the ones that just say vegetated are the ones that are getting classified as green space.
Let me bring up the map here. I think it says green spaces at the top. Should. Okay, can you see the map there now?
Yeah, and I see that it does say green spaces up at the top. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I should read better. Thanks.
Thanks for your attention to detail. Most of us just skip over that stuff.
I have a couple of questions, unless somebody else
Go ahead, Commissioner.
does. So I did by page numbers, by the page of the packet, which might not be the best kind of way, so I will scroll down to where I am. But this is on page 7 in the packet. And about the middle of the page, where it says GMA requirements.
Can you just give me that page number that's at the bottom of the page? That would be.
Yeah, page 2-3.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. So in that page at the top, says section 36.78.070. The Growth Management Act requires comprehensive plan of county include a land use element which, and then it has a bunch of stuff that's includes the following. You got bullet points there. But not all of those bullet points are included in the RCW definition. There's some extra things missing. So I would say if you're gonna say the RCW requires the element includes then you use the exact text from the RCW. It's kind of similar, but there's a lot of stuff that's not in the RCW text. So not sure how best to go through that. If you want to, I don't know if you can bring up the RCW,
Yeah.
look at that side by side, or
I don't know if we can do it side by side, but I can bring it up. What are you concerned about that's in here that's not in GMA?
so there's kind of some extra stuff. So if you go to pull up the RCW.
Yeah, just takes a minute.
Sure, no worries. I'm gonna try and put them side by side on my screen, just gonna scroll. Okay, let's see. I guess at the bottom, reducing and mitigating the risk and lives property posed by wildfires.
The bottom. Okay.
Actually, it does have it in there. I see.
Some amendments to the GMA a couple of years ago that added that, so that's kind of a new thing.
Okay.
And there's a couple times that that occurs in here. Under House Bill 1181.
I guess the environmental justice in the RCW as well. Okay, I will probably, when I look closer to this one, I would probably take that one back because I'm not seeing the parts. I think earlier, it seemed to me that there was parts that you were saying in here that wasn't in the RCWs, but I can't see them now. I didn't note them very well. So I think we're good enough there. Let's see. Page 11. 2A16. That's page 2-7. 2A16. I guess this one, so the policy is to protect quality and quantity of groundwater used for water supplies by implementation of the Whatcom County Code. I wasn't quite sure what we were trying to get at here. We have the code. We should follow the code. Are we not following the code in some areas there?
No, it's just more of that's a requirement of GMA. So we've had appeals on this very issue for rural areas. And there was some language put in the rural study area or rural areas relating to county code and just kind of demonstrating how, you know, through the county code, we meet this GMA requirement. So it's kind of the same concept in more of a general sense. We're just chapter 2 is supposed to, you know, facilitate protection of quality and quantity of groundwater. So.
Because you're not saying that we are currently not implementing, you're just saying
No.
keep doing what we're doing. Yep. Okay,
Yep.
great. Good. Are we page 10, are we changing any lamerids? I know we're changing the zoning in several of them, but are we changing any boundaries? I kind of thought they're all set in the.
They are set, so we're not changing boundaries.
Okay. That was page 10. Policy 211. So yeah, ensure the development potential of contiguous lands in common ownership is not compromised when urban growth boundaries and or limited areas of more intense rural development boundaries are designated.
What page are you on?
Sorry, this is page 2-6, item 2A-11. And this is new text, isn't it? Red text.
Oh, sorry. -6.
And I guess the red text was just saying what a landward is. And it's not obviously not a major thing, but so we're not designating any boundaries. Like, I don't know if we need any rules about what to do when we're designating boundaries.
Yeah, there was a couple minor changes we made. I think that were based upon errors when Lammerts were originally adopted, and then a landowner came in and said, "Hey, I had a building going over onto this property." So one was at Weiser Lake, and I can't remember where the other, but you know, there may be tweaks here and there that happen.
Page 14. Well, 2D.
What policy or page?
I'm on page 2-10. For goal 2D. Says refine the regulatory system to ensure accomplishment of desired land use goals in a fair and equitable manner. I thought in here somewhere would be a good place to maybe reiterate the new charter requirement about measuring the cost of new regulations that I think you guys have started doing. See that in some new some of the resolutions ordinances from the county council. It would be nice to kind of like formalize that and say, hey, this is our policy, is to be talking about the financial impact of rules on housing.
On that one in particular, that, related to housing, right?
I think so, yeah.
Evaluate cost, yeah, we can, I mean, that's okay, we can develop a policy that follows that language.
Okay, great. Yeah, so my motion would just be that, could staff create a policy to make a new policy to D, 11? Somewhere in there. Codify our policy that describes, the impact of regulations on the cost of housing, in line with the charter. That's kind of a sloppy way of saying it, but.
Yeah, but we get the intent.
Okay.
Everybody.
We just add, we're good with that? We just added.
You want to second it?
Yeah.
I'll second
Everybody
it.
understand, okay.
Just comment, I'm generally opposed to exaggerating this narrative about regulations and somehow unfairly elevating the cost of housing. Because I don't really believe that is the case. I think that there are costs to whatever we do, and that it's appropriate for those who are engaging in an activity to bear as many of those costs as possible, and the taxpayers and the environment as little as possible. And I think that the real culprit in cost of housing is several people with more money moving in, trying to make too many single family houses and not enough multiple unit housing, putting tariffs on Canadian lumber, elevated labor costs because we're running qualified workers off because they have the wrong citizenship status. I think there are a lot of factors that are much more powerful in the equation of affordable housing than land use regulations. So I tend to not to want to reinforce that narrative.
Well, and I hear you, and I respect that opinion. And I think to me, it's like, yes, there's a lot of things going to make housing more expensive, and anything you can do to reduce even little parts of those here and there. And regulations are probably the be all end all. There's not the only thing that's out there. There's a lot of other things you mentioned that I agree with that they're also causing housing more expensive. But I guess to me, it's like if we can chip away at those little by little, that'd be a good thing. But
I agree with all of it too. This motion, your thoughts?
So do we have a motion here?
yeah, we got a motion.
A
We got a
second.
second. We just do a vote. Sounds like.
Yep.
When I was getting the dialogue, we've been moving along and.
Yep.
So. Eileen, what do you call the roll, please?
Yes, Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson,
No.
Jefferson,
Abstain.
Bossari,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Barton.
Yes.
It passes.
Page, that same page, which is. Oh, yeah, page 2-11, goal 2E. I wasn't quite sure what this goal like meant. I just want to sort of give you a little kind of background. So the goal is to encourage both a stewardship ethic and respect for cultural resources and natural systems and processes, as well as support individual responsibility to achieve community values. What are we trying to say there?
I think the way I would read that is that it's not just all regulatory. It's, property owners taking care of the property, taking care of the environment, respecting perhaps community values voluntarily. Talks about the policy, education on the assets and incentives. So I guess that's how I would take it.
don't think you achieve community value, so.
All right, fair enough.
Commissioner Hampton.
Seems like you would support community values rather than achieving community values. Because a value isn't something you achieve, I don't think.
If you support it, you might get it and then you achieve it.
Just a grammatical thought.
Commissioner Hampton, I'm in favor of changing that.
Do you wanna make a motion?
I move that we change it to, sorry, go ahead and make it.
Support, will you make it? I'll add second,
Okay,
support.
Change responsibility to support community values rather than responsibility to achieve community values. Right,
I'll second.
thank you.
That's a pretty easy one.
I'm sorry, could you, repeat, what word are you replacing here?
Achieve, third sentence on the, at the end of the line. Take out achieve and put support.
Okay.
Any discussion?
I think we can vote.
It's okay. Eileen, when you call the roll.
Yes. Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson.
Yep.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Barton.
Yeah.
It passes.
On page 52. This is the Linden. UJ, I got, it's in the packet, it's page 2-47. I was understanding, and I might have just been mistaken about this, that Linden was not changing its UGA.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Okay.
I know we voted on that.
Yeah, so when I look at the map
Through it.
below, so map on page 2-48, this is gonna be deleted. And then I just try and skip back and forth, compare that to the map that we're using, like it looks like there are some significant differences. So I'm probably just missing something here, but could you, Matt, could you run us through the differences between these two maps?
I think those areas were annexed since that last map was prepared 8 years ago.
Yeah, cause it didn't, I know it didn't change.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
annexations. What was in the UGA is now annexed and in the city limits.
Okay, cause me. Oh, okay, kind of looking here, I'm looking at the roads, okay, I got it.
Yep, if you
Yep.
look at the same gap, it's the same
Yep.
gap from the
Yeah,
road,
yeah.
which is Guide Meridian,
Yep.
everything, yep, I see what you're looking at.
Yep, okay, that makes, so yes, they annexed in that section there between, what is that? Double Ditch,
Yeah,
the city. Okay, and then on the south end. They brought in,
just that little bit by Coke Road there, yep. I think we're good on that
okay,
one.
and they brought that in, not this round, they brought that in previously,
Well,
they annexed it in,
that map was adopted 8 years ago, so
Okay.
in the last 8
Yeah.
years.
in last year, okay, makes sense, great, that's good.
It's already built out, it's already, you know.
It's already done.
Yeah.
Can't take it back.
Yep.
For Matt, this is a little bit more of a complicated request. But could we pull up, we start with Sumas. And cause you guys have been out there with the floods, could you kind of walk us through? I assume Sumas, Nooksack, Everson, whatever, let's stop here, we'll go with Nooksack, that's fine. We start with, we go with Nooksack map. Could you walk us through on the map where it's flooding, like right now? Just kind of give us an overview.
I haven't been out there. I've seen some pictures of Everson and Nook or Sumas, but we'll probably have to wait for more detailed information from Public Works.
Scott, can you tell us?
I've been cleaning up out there, so I can speak to
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. If you just-
I-
In my mind, I kind
They're
of.
living in my house right now, so it flooded very similar to the last one, but very differently as well in different areas. It was the strangest flood. A prime example is in downtown on the main street. The city hall got flooded out right away, and Sumas hadn't had a drop of water yet. And across the street, the Napa store stayed dry. That's an example that is so bizarre. And I was just in there yesterday, and I'm like, you're trying to figure out why one is getting scrapped out and one is not. It was a different flood, but it was obviously pretty deep, so very similar.
Generally, east of, in the city limits, in the light gray, but I'm sorry, west of SR9 is that portion of the city that floods.
Yes,
On the other, not much flooding, as I understand it,
on the other
east
side,
yeah.
that is correct.
Yeah, and then the southern portion, typically floods as well.
Yeah, and not as bad as last time in that specific area.
Okay.
Yeah,
And the areas that in Nooksack that we added, this time around were, kind of on the fringes there, if I remember correctly, so well outside of
those were higher ground.
Yeah.
Those are higher ground.
And the UGAs here are mostly what we added, I think. Is that right? The ones we're seeing?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And the ones, again, on the east side did not flood.
Yeah, they're the highest of any
Yeah.
of those dark gray areas.
Okay, like the triangle and that kind of
Yep,
rectangle on the right
yep,
side?
yep,
Yep, okay, great. Could we do the same thing for, I guess this, if Everson's next, just so I can, just so I have kind of like a visual of like.
So we did add to those two, it's just the other ones withdrew. We approved those two and the other ones withdrew.
Yeah, everybody withdrew their UGARs, Nooksack, we'd add a little bit to Nooksack, added some and took away some from Sumas, and I think added a little bit to Everson. Okay, so here we are with Everson, so where is the main flooding in Everson compared to the stuff we added in?
Main flooding is, the overflow is about here. This is where it jumps the river,
Okay.
right? It goes right down.
Okay.
And that's called the Everson Overflow Corridor. And then it goes into Sumas. So it widens out, covers all, I think this flood was basically all of Everson on the east side of the river.
Okay.
A little bit of flooding here. This part of town stays dry.
Yep.
And that's where we added, that's where they added.
Yep.
That's all much higher ground.
This was a park which floods. The only area that's still in question is they're proposing that it was this area. This is Stickney Road and this is Trap Line. And I don't know if that flooded or how.
It flooded
Yeah.
around there, it did. Yeah, it got to a point, but not 2 feet. deep.
Significantly, yeah.
That's exactly right.
Portions of this are in the draft, FEMA flood, 100-year flood.
Okay.
Portions are not, so it's kind of, it's not the entirety of it, but the city would like to go in that direction generally because it gets more, right when the river turns and heads west is when it just starts to really widen out here in terms of flooding.
Okay.
And that trap line road going north from that hashed area, that is a main route in and out of town
When it floods.
Yeah, that's one of the main routes
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
It eventually will have a couple low areas that do get water over the road, but it is a main way out.
And then if we could go to Sumas.
Well, so here's the corridor, right? All that water from Everson comes here.
Hits the railroad
The
track.
railroad, it's a bit of a dike, so this all gets flooded, well, I mean, most of the town was flooded. I had just heard anecdotally that the Sumas did not flood significantly like it had in 21. Down here, but most of this area was still gets underwater. I don't know the particulars of this side of town. But
Remind me of what they're promising to do with the floodplain portion of the added UGA?
So this area, this is West Sumas, this is sort of the industrial area. And it all flooded and always does. So this area going west, I think this is a big berry field.
Right,
And then you get some trees and then you start to go up.
right.
The elevation increases up there.
Yeah, this was dry.
Ha,
This was dry in the,
Wow.
in the
the
flood.
berry fields were dry?
This one was, yes.
The railroad acts as a major dike.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is, like you said, like
Yeah.
Mark said, it's a major dike and it's just funneling that
Into town.
into town, yeah.
Yeah, it just,
It's a bugger.
Boy, that, it's hard to deal with the railroad. You want them to do something like to increase access to the floodplain by making causeways under the railroad. Good luck.
I mean, in Sumas, I know we made a motion that got approved and sort of went back and forth with the Sumas about the UGA on the south end, that sort of that kind of rectangle-ish there.
Yeah, that we took that back out.
Yeah, and if you scroll down to the map below, the map that's gonna be deleted of Sumas, it looks like it's that didn't get removed, like this.
It was right there.
corner
It
hits-
was-
Yeah, it's like the blue line crosses the road, and that's where the corner of the UGA is, then you slide up. And it's still blue line crosses the road, that's the corner UGA is, so,
But that is the corrected one. The top one is the corrected one and so is the bottom. There was a 3 and a 4 there.
yeah.
That's what we took out.
But I'm saying, I think the bottom one is the old one with,
No,
That-
it's the same,
It's the same.
it's the same.
is it?
It is. That's the same.
Okay, so this is the map with those removed?
Yep.
Okay,
Both are the same.
okay,
I just happen to know the area.
okay,
So,
I'll take your word for it, Scott.
yeah.
Good for you. Good for us.
Great. I have a question that I have. There. Yeah, I do have a question, for the trails and for, I guess for Daniel, if I could ask Daniel
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think, you made a proposal last time, or a while ago, to have these included, I think I voted no on that one because it sounded like a couple of the folks who owned land, they did not wanna have, trails marked pursuit of land, I think specifically DNR, and there might have been some other agencies. Do you have anything from DNR saying like, yes, we'd like to have this trail mapped on our land?
So I don't actually believe there was a motion on the table. There was a conversation, but I don't think there's actually been a motion
Okay,
to.
all right, fair enough.
So it was a, no, but I guess I should clarify that none of the trails on any of the maps are approved with any private landowners. So these are all conceptual trails. In fact, it notes that on the maps that landowners have not been contacted, that these are concepts for the county, because actually in part of the land use chapter, this actually, there's a part of this chapter actually talks about how this chapter needs to identify open space corridors to then possibly purchase private property. So this actually is the appropriate chapter to make sure that these corridors are identified so that if private property needs to be purchased, that it can. So that would actually support having trails through private property, but I guess I should add that in both these trail systems that combined are 100 miles of trail, we're talking about purchasing less than like 2 miles of trail on private properties right off the tree. So it would be very small.
I think the main letter we got was from DNR, and they had said they were opposed to that, if I remember correctly.
They were opposed to showing, their existing gravel roads as constructed trails. But I would argue that that is not, that is, they can ask for that, but it's the county's plans. And so if the corridor goes down a road that's constructed, I feel that it's on the maps, it should be shown as a constructed trail. Because roads can be used as trails and vice versa. And it really helps in planning, because if you're looking at a map, then you can identify that you don't need to actually construct anything there in the future, that it's already a gravel road. So that's really was there.
Yeah, I'm tending to be supportive of trails, but, are the DNR portion of the trails within areas where they've got them gated off?
No, and well, sorry, I take that back. They are, yes, gated off, but they're open to the public. So you can walk on it, you can bike on it, they're open access to the public. So they're already, that's why it's like, that's why it's confusing. It's like, well, you know, a gravel road, you can already use it as a trail. All DNR land is open to the public. So if the county would like to plan for that to be a actual corridor sometime, I feel that's within the county's purview.
Matt, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna let Mark take that one because he emailed our parks director.
Let's ride over to Mark.
What are you gonna do in a couple months when he's gone?
I'll give him a call.
We sent Daniel's, comments to, the Parks Director, Bennett Knox. He reiterated the comments he'd had previously, that they really intend to do the detailed trail corridor planning as a part of the CPROS plan, their, Comprehensive Parks and Recreation Open Space Plan. That's their kind of operational nuts and bolts plan. But for the comp plan, they didn't want to show trails that the other agencies, in particular DNR and Forest Service, hadn't confirmed were open, built, accessible. And to promote that to the public through these maps, when in fact they might not be, they might be incomplete. So, and I'm not, you know, I can't speak for those agencies, but that's the message we got back from Parks Department, was they intend to do that connectivity analysis and improvements through the CPROS plan process rather than a comp plan. So,
And
they
that'll
wanted
be in a year, 10 years, or?
I think they're doing it next, they want to start
They're
next
doing
year.
it.
That's why I think it's important, because this plan only gets updated every 10 years. So, and currently, there have been updates in 10 years since the last plan. So to stick with only what was planned 10 years ago doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's not true, though. We can update this plan every year. And especially if the CPROS plan gets adopted and it changes those maps, then we would change these maps to just be consistent with the CPROS plan. So we can do that. That's not a big deal for consistency.
Then, so we haven't, Eileen, I guess I ask you, we haven't voted on this before?
I'm looking at the July 10th minutes that were passed when we talked about Parks and Recreation. And it looks like the conversation was had, of the concern that Commissioner Eisenberg raised was whether or not those property owners were consulted. But I'm looking at the votes and I don't see any.
Well, I know we voted after we had a speaker representing Cherry Point.
We did.
And I know we had votes on trails at some point somewhere in there.
On the Kickerville as a wide corridor, not a specific line, and remove the Coast Millennium Trail through BP on map 9.2
Okay,
of that, and that one was,
You did make amendments to map 9.2 that had the trail corridors.
Yes.
Those
that's right.
have gone to the council for their review,
Okay,
but we haven't gotten to that level of discussion with them. With Parks Department commenting on map 9-2, yeah.
Well, they're the final say.
Commissioner Masseri, go ahead.
It was just discussed. I was gonna bring up what we voted on round Cherry Point and that kind of thing, but I think it got covered.
Okay,
Commissioner Hampton.
Well, shouldn't if we have two chapters in the comp plan with maps detailing trails, I would think they should be consistent with each other.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
Makes sense.
Go ahead.
I'll make a friendly that, if it would help to show, DNR trail as proposed, or the gravel roads as, proposed trails instead of constructed. Just so that we can get updates on this map. That makes sense.
So I guess, yeah, so my primary question is, if we took a vote on this, would it be a reconsideration? Of something, like have we already decided this issue, basically?
I don't remember the particulars of the map at 9-2.
Well,
It was Beta Baker, right?
Yeah.
So that was the.
Elliott, Mount Baker,
Yeah.
and so what the commission also doesn't know is that Mark actually developed and produced a draft that included the exact proposals I made. The Parks Department asked him to remove that, and he showed, and so nobody got to see that draft. So there is a draft that exists that was not shown to council or to you. So that's why I'm here again asking.
You know, I think it's in the packet that's gone to the council.
It is.
It's a PC recommended, but the Parks Department director submitted a memo to me that went into the record to council saying they didn't want that, but council hasn't taken any action on
They
it.
haven't taken, well, yeah.
That's.
So it's already to them, so
Yeah.
we can't
Correct.
really
Yeah,
add to
okay,
it.
sounds good. So I probably wouldn't make a motion then.
But-
Yeah.
It is not,
And I don't know when we're gonna,
Yeah,
it's in their hands now, so they tell me when they're gonna,
yeah.
when they wanna talk about it.
If this trail is on what we approved for if the Baker to Bay Trail is on the map we approved for the recreation chapter, shouldn't this one then be basically cloning that?
Well, I think you guys wanted, our direction is just to be consistent, right? We need to
Right.
produce consistent maps. but-
Right.
Yeah.
But council hasn't decided yet on your draft recommendation, so we would just,
They
whatever
decide.
their decision is, we would amend this map to be
To match
consistent
that.
with map 9.
Okay, well, how about the Lake Whatcom Loop Trail? That suggestion to add that, seems like that shouldn't be controversial because that's been already constructed.
Then it said the same thing, that there's a lot of support for that trail, but
Oh, it's
doesn't
not
wanna
the same,
show
it's
something
not-
on a map that looks to the public like it's all done and
Oh,
completed.
you're talking when it's
Publicly
going along
accessible.
The lake, not,
Yes.
it just loops back.
Correct.
Couldn't make a plan without that.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
right. So,
All right. Are we ready to move on? I don't think we're gonna solve the trail one, right?
not till we hear back from the county. We're part of the county.
Sorry,
Those very important
We all
people
want to
that
do it.
stood up high.
Okay. This shows the power step pass.
well, speaking for myself, we all want to. So, okay, let's move.
So on this one, are we good on the land use chapter then?
So we have a few more.
Commissioner Hanson has
Oh.
some remaining.
And also just a public statement, whatever we decide is just recommendation to county council and not set in stone because you as a member of the public have an opportunity to lobby county council to make changes that we didn't make. Okay, so then I have 3 of them, basically adding tree canopy in different places where we're talking about habitat. Because having been your representative on the forest resilience task force, and also having a environmentalist background, I'm increasingly convinced that the most cost-effective thing we can do to slow climate change and protect people, to retard flooding, and to protect habitat is to encourage the growth of trees. So I think, so the three places I saw there to just insert tree canopy into the narrative. So,
Go ahead.
Just a comment, it's just a comment, it's kind of a story, it's kind of, in early 1981, I flew over Whatcom County and then we flew to Mount St. Helens, flew around Mount, it had already blown in 1980.
yeah.
Flew over that, saw that, and then a few years ago, flew in a World War II bomber out of Everett, flew over Whatcom County. It was astounding how much trees covered this county. When you fly over this county and go east and go around Mount Baker, there's a lot of trees. There's a lot of trees. That's just my comment. There's a lot of
Wasn't
trees.
2/3 of the county national forest and national park?
It's astounding.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, there's a lot of trees. But that's only been 45 years, so.
Okay, let's,
Anyway, just could it informally, is there support for this? Should we go through process or what?
For the record purposes, if you can state your motion.
Okay, I'll move for at page 2-110 that we add a new policy 2RR-4. Preserve areas with tree canopy outside of riparian areas.
Second.
So, question. So if somebody wants to work on their property, how does that impact that on removing trees and everything that we've already?
Well, there already are tree removal ordinances in the critical areas plan. And there are cooperative processes encouraging people to grow trees. So I think that preserving areas out with tree canopy is it's just basically saying it's not just riparian areas that matter, it's tree canopy in general. And by the way, I consider forest practices as a way of preserving tree canopy, because you cut them, then you replant them. I'm not talking about getting in the way of forest practices.
so this is a policy. And I think Commissioner Van Galen's question underlying and the one I have, how would this apply?
Well,
Just say I'm a private landowner and I want to build a house and I want some open space because I want to have a horse.
right now you have, there are regulations about how much land clearing you can do, depending on whether you're in a Lake Whatcom watershed or other places. And that's in the critical areas ordinance.
We have tree canopy protection standards, which just, what that means basically is, it limits how much canopy you can remove through development activities in the watersheds, right, which are the lakes. And then in critical areas, and shorelines. So Jim, you're talking about outside of.
Yeah, and preserving it could include, easement, buying easements from people, including it in the open space criteria, which we have a problem with. How to do that, doesn't mean necessarily that you need to require, it doesn't say we should require that these areas be preserved, but could be a goal from the county to preserve these.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Of course.
Are you thinking of it then as a non-regulatory, sort of more of a incentive or?
I wouldn't say get rid of regulation, but I wouldn't say necessarily make them more stringent. That would be up to somebody else. It just to I guess I'm tired of just hearing about endangered species as an important environmental value, and I think that tree canopy in itself is one of the most critical environmental values that protects people from impacts of climate change, of flooding, helps restore water levels during the summer. I think it's just one of the most cost-effective things we can do. We can do a lot of things to somehow try to fix it once it's all ruined, but by just trying as a goal to generally preserve tree canopy, I think it's a very cost-effective approach.
Go ahead.
I'd speak against the motion. I think there's a lot of rules already that protects trees and all kinds of critical areas. And I think, if anything, we might be a little bit too protective of things to the detriment of housing. So my opinion, like I hear you, but my opinion would be that we should be easing back on those rules just a little bit. So I'd probably be this motion.
So, Commissioner Hanson, I support what you're doing, but your proposal, but I'm concerned about how it would apply. Like, that's my concern with it. Probably I'd be more comfortable, if, and I know it doesn't quite fit, but promote rather than preserve.
I take a friendly amendment for both the preservation of.
Okay, I'll make that friendly amendment. And do we have a second on this? Did I
Yes.
second?
No, we did.
Okay, that's right.
Promote.
The preservation of areas. There you go. That's what I was sort of getting at, is if it's a non-regulatory thing,
Sure.
then you know, we could do that through conservation easements
Yeah,
or things
so
like that. They're
it's-
kind of more on a voluntary basis and not a regulatory.
I can support it if it's a non-regulatory.
Yeah, I think promotion looks good to me.
Yeah, that's great. Well,
Good.
We'll get to the critical areas ordinance and then we'll have a real fun time.
Oh, it won't be fun. It won't be fun.
You bugger.
Is there any other discussion? Eileen, what do you call the roll, please?
Yes, Henson,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Wasseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Barton,
Yeah.
that passes.
Okay, could we scroll to page 2-11, 2SS-2, so I can see how draconian that insertion is at that point? See if, let's see. Or SS, or is it SS2? Right. Well,
That's a pretty healthy coverage.
yeah, actually, maybe I looked at an old version of that.
I think so, cause that's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
healthy.
Yeah, I don't think I need to promote that, to move that one. How about policy 2UU14? Pretty bad, we have to go to, here we go. Okay. This is the one where we run into when they say, if we change the benefit rating system, we have to go back and review everyone for the last 20 years or something, right?
That's what I've been told, yeah.
Well, what
Yeah,
I
I remember we discussed this
Yeah,
already.
what-
Mark told us that.
what I can't understand is, I can see if we were allowed points under the environmental error section, along with or tree canopy, along with fish and wildlife enhancement, if that would give more points to some properties, it seems like you'd only have to review the ones you turn down. Not all of them. But I won't make that motion until we get that clarified. Maybe some of the council can do something about it.
Yeah. Well, I know we're gonna put it on our work program
Okay.
for next year.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
There you go.
Okay, good. So this should be an easy one then. When they talked about critical transportation facilities, how come the Lummi Island Ferry isn't one?
I talked to the county engineer about this specific point, and he just said that he
He said.
I'm curious what he said.
well, I'll paraphrase. He
Okay.
said,
Every language.
Every road in Whatcom County is a critical transportation facility, and every ferry landing by that nature as well. So there's just no technical term for calling something a critical transportation
But
facility.
they made a list of them though.
It's not a technical term. No.
Yeah.
They made a list of critical transportation.
Let's see what Matt has something to
There you
say.
go.
So yeah, this is in the essential public facilities section of the code, which is set forth in the GMA RCW 3670A 200. And so the state law defines a lot of these facilities. We can add locally, and we had a big old advisory committee 25 years ago that added several things like water tanks and things like that. But basically, these are things that are difficult to cite. And you have citing criteria developed. And it's not in state law, of course. And the terminals on the Lummi Reservation don't even know the county rules would apply if they relocated it onto another site on the reservation. But Maddie, you worked on essential public facilities. You want to kick in here? Or?
Yeah, no problem. So like Matt said, a lot of these are listed in the RCW and we can add them. But really the purpose is to create locational criteria, anticipating that one of these facilities may be built in the next planning period in the next 20 years. So I don't think it's likely to have another ferry in the next 20 years. I don't see why we couldn't include it. But that's really the purpose of essential public facilities, is to have criteria for citing these difficult facilities to cite. So.
Commissioner Masseri.
Yeah, I don't really get that explanation. If you scroll back up, it very clearly just has a list of stuff. So we're obviously not going to cite any new marine port facilities at Cherry Point. A lot of these other things are very unlikely to get moved or cited. I don't get the difference.
Well, the cruise terminal's on there. That's just a magnitude higher of Lummi Island Ferry. I don't know.
Yeah, it is just a ferry terminal, or it is a ferry terminal.
And there's one on Lummi Island, which is in county jurisdiction. Yeah. Well, anyway, no
Do
big
you want
deal.
to make a motion just to say, hey, throw the ferry terminals up
Make
there?
a motion.
Okay, I'd like to move that to the list of critical transportation facilities that we add Lummi Island Ferry and its landings.
I can second that.
And that's just to clarify, that's in policy 2YY4.
2-188.
I think you wanted in 2YY4.
Yeah, okay, YY4. YY4.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? I'll pause just slightly here, Matt's writing. Okay, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Jefferson,
I'm gonna abstain.
Osari,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes,
Barton,
Yes.
that passes.
I guess I'd like to make one
Go
informational
ahead.
note is that I believe that the county has a lease with the Lummi Indian Nation for the Gooseberry Point Ferry Terminal. And that lease may be up for renegotiation, so there could be some issues there.
Well, that's not our hands.
Not, Well, okay, yeah,
That's right.
Okay, where are we at next here?
Okay, policy, 2-131, or page 2-131. See, I read all the way through this.
Nice job.
CCC 10. And it's about mitigating impacts to cultural resources. And particularly, I'm thinking about the cultural resources of the Indian nations that aren't necessarily evident and are not supposed to have public access to. But when we do a SEPA, the tribe gets to jump in and say, you can't build that project there because it would infringe upon a cultural resource. And so I think just saying that indicating they can be successfully mitigated is disingenuous, because I don't think, as we found out at Cherry Point, that impacts of cultural resources can necessarily be mitigated. And so I just wanted to add that projects that cannot successfully mitigate impacts on cultural resources will be denied permits. I think that's the law anyway, but.
Director Personi, if you want to weigh in there?
Well, we're comfortable with how 2CC10 is written currently. We consult with the tribes on cultural resources. We condition all permits to have cultural resource. If the tribe requests an archaeological survey, we require that of the permittee. The way it's written, mitigating impacts wouldn't occur until after the permit is issued. Right, it's a condition of the permit to do an archaeological survey.
Right.
And then there's other conditions that require inadvertent discovery, right? If you're doing excavation work and you discover cultural resources, you are to stop immediately and you call the archaeologist.
Right.
Those are conditions that automatically go on the permits,
right.
but we don't deny the permit ahead of time.
No.
Doing what we're gonna ask
But
them to do.
if they can't prove they can mitigate successfully, then you have to deny it, right?
Well, again, we require an archae survey as a condition of the permit.
I'm sorry,
They don't.
sorry. But
Right.
you find a graveyard, right?
Yeah,
They can't build over a graveyard.
right.
Okay, so they have to deny the permit if it can't be mitigated.
That's not us, so that's DAP, that's Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation. Those are the state statutes, right? And that's what DAP enforces.
Okay,
Or-
well, I guess maybe.
So it's not our permit, right? We're not out there.
Since we're a little bit, I'm gonna tell a story about when I worked out in the res. We were reforesting this area, this big mound of dirt. Well, it turns out that mound of dirt was when they relocated years back one of the native burial grounds. And there's this big mound of dirt out in the floodplain with brush growing on it. And then I found out that, this is where they didn't properly basically move all these graves, and they just basically dug it up and moved them in dump trucks. Well, that night I had a dream, and these spirits came to me and they said, you moved my body, but you got the pieces all scrambled up with the pieces of other bodies.
So back to the movie. It sounds like what Mark is saying is that, like, generally before you start a project, like even when you're starting a project, you don't know if you got cultural resources there. It's only when you like dig, or if you find something or do an archaeological survey, like, oh, we found something, so now we got to figure out what to do about it.
Right.
And so I think, to me, saying like, we're gonna deny a permit if there's any cultural resources there, would be difficult to enforce. Would probably stop a lot of permits without like good cause, as opposed to saying like, hey, when you're going through the permit like you are now, you go through the permit, you find something, you stop, you figure it out, talk to the tribe, get archaeological people in there, like, figure out from there, which is I assume how we're doing it now.
Yeah, and I would add, if it's within shorelines, if it's in Point Roberts, automatically, we require a survey upfront, automatic, so that we'll know. And we have sites identified from DAP, that's the State Department of.
So what you're
Archaeology.
telling me is this rhetoric isn't necessary because it's being covered in the process?
Correct.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I've dealt with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll tell one more that goes along with it. So Birch Bay, there are skeletons all over the place.
Right.
And so they'll be going along and they'll be running a water line to a commercial building and they find a skeleton. The permit doesn't go away. It gets covered back up. They call the tribe.
Everything
It
stops.
gets covered up and then you go around it, but you still have your permit.
Right, you mitigate it, you go around it, yeah.
The city of Lane's, was it their wastewater treatment plant
That
several years ago?
was a bad one.
Yeah,
That was a bad one.
that stopped for a long time.
Never
They find a bunch of.
Yeah,
moved to a different location.
right on the shoreline, yeah.
Okay, are you withdrawing that motion?
Yes.
Can I say something?
You sure can, Commissioner
Um,
Jefferson.
Um, I just want to thank Jim for sharing that because it's a very sensitive subject and it's more than just bones when we talk about our ancestors that are left in their graves uncovered with work. And so it's a sensitive subject and I appreciate Jim bringing it up and I appreciate those who are sensitive to understanding that it's not just bones. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Hampton, do you have more?
I think I ran out and yeah.
Well, you set a record tonight.
Yeah. I got one pass?
Great, that's good.
All right, Commissioners, what next?
Appendix more?
Yeah, I think there's some appendices, so we're in a work session. We have a hearing,
What?
close the hearing, doing a
We
work.
actually passed it.
Well, don't we have to pass this one?
I think so, we're all.
Yeah, and yes, that's the next thing.
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to pass chapter 2 land use.
And there's something got to go with it, guidances or anything, and finding the fact or anything, no?
I'm all second your motion.
Okay,
But yeah, the finding of fact will come back with all these chapters will come back to you for a final public hearing in January, so.
We're gonna change.
it'll be that middle of January.
All right, is there any discussion? Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Bossari,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Hanson,
No.
Jefferson,
No.
Barton,
Yeah.
it passes.
Do you want to go back to, the previous, maybe we have some definitions, some other stuff that we're working on?
Yeah, staff sent you, Eileen, do you have that, or
Maddie.
Lucas or Maddie, can you bring up that? Appendices? sheet?
Yes, let me share it right now. 1 second.
Is that the one we needed Laura to answer some questions on?
Yeah,
Yes.
and Lauren is here.
Yep.
Can you see that okay?
Yeah, can you enlarge it a little bit?
Yes, I can. 1 second. Let's see.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Great. So we did address some of these already. I'm just going to start from the top here. We added this to the bibliography. Let's see here. This is Lucas's item. Lucas, would you like to go over that?
Yeah, we discussed that at the previous meeting, but essentially we reached out to Parks and they said that they're still in the remedial investigation phase of the overall cleanup process as mandated by the Department of Ecology. No decision has been made on the future use of the outdoor ranges. That'll be made pending the completion of their processes in the study. Parks is in the process of reopening the indoor ranges, small bore range in 2026. They've undergone extensive renovation of its air handling unit. And upon opening, we'll have processes in place for the collection of lead in that facility.
Great, okay, moving
Keep
on, moving on.
Okay. So we have addressed this. Number 3, 2, to remove all the refers to or means. This is completed as well. We talked about this last time, adding the word pedal to active transportation. I could not remember if there was a motion about amending best available science. This is the definition in the appendices.
That was more of an inside joke with Rudd.
Yeah.
But it's okay, yeah.
Okay, okay, no problem. Okay, so going on to motion about.
Already wasn't there.
That's right, that's right. Don't run anyways.
Moving on to climate adaptation. There's a motion here from Commissioner Dunn.
Yes, perfect. And Lauren, I think you're on.
Hi,
So you're
Lauren Clemens.
excellent. Hey, thanks, Lauren. Could you pull up, so because I was looking at some of the definitions, so like the climate resilience toolkit, I think had another glossary as well. Could
Sure.
you pull that up and we can look at the exact wording in that definition versus the exact wording in the definition of the comp plan?
Yeah, just a second. Okay, so generally the first thing that we did was look at the glossary of terms and the intermediate climate guidance, which is what the county will be subject to. So I noted, like for adaptation, use the definition listed in the commerce guidance. Not every term was defined within the guidance. And so in those other cases, use the glossary from the 5th National Climate Assessment, which was part of a process mandated by Congress, and that's the most recent assessment adopted by federal agencies. So I can go through individual definitions if you like, or if you have specific questions about any of the terms, I'm happy to answer those.
Yeah, no, that'd be great if you just walk through. I think there's maybe like a half dozen or something like that definition. You just start at the top and be like, here's what is in the comp plan, and here's where the definition is that's found.
Okay, so adaptation, which was the first one that you had a question about, use the definition of the guidance, which is here, process of adjusting to new climate conditions in order to reduce risk to valued assets. The source as listed is a U.S. Climate Resilience Toolkit. So this is the definition that Commerce used and their source. Can you read the next one in your list?
Sorry, get the comp plan definition that we have. Sorry,
I'm trying to look at your packet. The next one you had a question on was climate element sector.
Sorry, the next one I had a question on is if we could look at the definition that's in the glossary of the intermediate guidance next to the definition that's in the comp plan and just see if they're identical.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to say is whenever it was defined in the guidance, we used the term in the guidance. And when there was an absence of a term, then we use the 5th National Climate Assessment.
So to me, some of those definitions were different. So I'll just pull up the agenda from December 11th.
Okay.
I'm gonna try and scroll through and find these definitions.
What definition do you want, Commissioner?
Let's start with the first one. I think we're on, what was the first one you're on there, Lauren?
I see climate adaptation is at the top in your packet. And then you had a question on climate element sector and climate impact, maybe?
Excellent, okay. Yeah, okay, so for example, in the packet, it says climate adaptation is the process of adjusting to new conditions in order to reduce risks to valued assets. If you go back to the definition you saw in the intermediate guidance.
Yep, just a second. So that's right here.
Yep. So the difference is the process of adjusting to new parentheses climate and in parentheses conditions in order to reduce. So it's like it's small differences, but to me, those are important differences. And if we're gonna use a definition out of something like the intermediate God, I think it's fine to use a generally accepted definition, but I think need to use like exactly that definition.
Okay, are you proposing a motion?
Yeah, so my motion would be that we use the definition of adaptation found in the glossary of terms in the, what would you call this document?
It's Washington Department of Commerce Intermediate Climate Guidance.
Did you get that, Eileen?
I will.
Okay.
I'll second.
Excellent, thank you.
Is there any discussion? When you're ready, Irene, will be called roll.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yeah. Yeah.
Jefferson,
Abstain.
Osiri,
Yes.
Barton.
Yeah.
That passes.
Great. What is our next word there, either Maddie or Lauren? I think we just kind of had a list on the list.
Yes, the next word was climate element sector.
Okay, so let me share my screen. This is from the WAC. So this is right here. Climate element sector means categories of natural resources or community assets. So this definition is what's in the draft rulemaking to the Washington Administrative Code. And this is what is proposed but not finalized by the Washington Department of Commerce.
Okay, I'm looking at your definition here and I'm looking at the one on the screen and I can't compare them side to side. I guess my question would be, is your definition climate element sector means, so it's not quite like, it's a minor thing, but just off the bat, your definition of the comp plan uses the word refers to, and the RCW says means categories. So I'm assuming there's other differences in there. So I think my motion would be that we adapt word for word the definition of climate element sector that's found in the RCW.
So this would be this is the Washington Administrative Code,
Oh, sorry, in the one.
365, 19660.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see, Maddie, I see you've got your hand up.
Yes,
Yeah.
and there was a previous motion made to remove all the terms like refers to or means. So it would just start as categories of natural resources, just like the next word in the WAC.
Yeah, and I would say that I can't look at it right now. I don't have like the ability to see the document side by side close enough and look word for word. So I just want to say my motion is that we literally adopt word for word what's in the WAC. And it might be there already, but I'm just saying, let's make sure we do that.
Do you want to just go through all of these and ask for a track changes version relative to the source? Is that your concern about each of these?
Yeah, or I could just, yeah, I mean, I'd be totally happy with that. If we can, I guess the motion would be to use the literal definition of the source document that you're referring to there for all those definitions.
Okay,
Can that cover all the ones that we're going through one after the other?
Yeah.
I can second that.
Pause for a moment. Commissioner Basiri, did you still have a question or comment?
Well, Maddie answered made the same comment I was gonna make, but then I did want to go back to the one that I had brought up. I'd be curious what that one says on the net zero. That was the only one. Otherwise, I'm in agreement with changing the other ones.
Yeah, so me just.
That's number 14. on the table.
It's on A11.
Yeah, so we just use the definition in the guidance, and the one that Commerce decided to choose for the guidance was refers to a state in which the greenhouse gas is going into the atmosphere or balanced by removal out of the atmosphere.
Yeah, I'd actually still have the same comment than before, only because net zero means different things, I think, in construction than that, and maybe in other things as well. So I thought it should maybe just say net zero emissions in the title.
Okay, I mean, alternatively, can find an alternative definition. We're under this sort of intermediate guidance, so I think they'll be refining this. One thing, just in order to not maybe be arbitrary, is that we're trying to use the definitions that the state used in their guidance to just try to be consistent, but if there's a motion here to find an alternative, I could bring that back to you.
Lauren, I got a question. In the definition of the comp plan, you use a very different definition for net zero. And but you refer to an RCW, but the one we're looking at here is the intermediate guidance on the screen. Which definition do you want to use, the intermediate guidance or the RCW?
Let me just go down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is the definition here is a kind of a compilation of two different things. So the first half of the sentence is written consistent with the guidance, and then the rest references RCW for the state emission reductions targets. The reason that the second half of the sentence is included is because as part of a countywide planning policy, we reference that statewide emissions target, which is listed in the intermediate guidance. Because the RCW reference is not specific to the GMA, but it's just encouraged that jurisdictions are consistent with that, we could revise this one similar to the previous one, so just be consistent with the definition in the intermediate guidance. However, it sounded like Commissioner Messeri had a concern about maybe whether that reflected, whether the terminology for that was confusing. So could come back with a recommended change to this if that's the commission's preference.
Commissioner Messeri, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to just follow the guidance, I'm fine with that. I think that I don't know that one's definition is the best one, but maybe it is just best to be consistent and do that instead of cherry pick which ones we use.
I think that makes sense, but it's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we had like, maybe if you go through these definitions with an order of preference, you know, the intermediate guidance sounds like that's what the Department of Commerce wants us to use the most generally. So maybe we take a definition from there. And then, are there any words that don't have a definition in the intermediate guidance?
So the ones that were not defined in the intermediate guidance that I sent you, and let me scroll down. So climate impact, we use the definition from the climate assessment. And there's a couple, but in that instance, it seemed most consistent to use the same source that was also referenced in the guidance as a recommended source. So I think the general principle is if it's defined in a RCW, we'll cite the RCW or WAC. If then the next best available would be the intermediate guidance, and then if it's not defined in that, then we were going to use a federally accepted source, which was the National Climate Assessment.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I think like making sure it's literally the same thing, like, we talk about the word vulnerability, and in the definition you have, you know, as an example, it leaves out the term climate, but in the definition I found in the glossary of the 5th climate science resilience, whatever thing, they use the word climate in their definition. So yeah, I think, would it be okay for you? Do you want us to give you direction to do that, or can you just kind of do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you made a motion to just review this and make any amendments for consistency with those sources, then we can move this on to as part of your recommendation to council.
Okay, that would be my motion then, to review, the definitions, and I think it was just a climate related. Well, could you bring up the list of the questions that we had? Or Eileen, or whoever's on the.
Patty, do you have that?
I do have that. Let me share it. I was just making some notes here. Hopefully I got this right. Is the motions are to be the exact from the source. So in this case, it'd be the toolkit. This is from the WAC. This is from the assessment. And then let's see here. This would also be from the assessment. Oops.
Go ahead.
So Commissioner Dunn, are you wanting to reword your current motion that you had made to adopt word for word?
Yes. What is the motion that I?
To adopt word for word the definitions that is in the WAC into the appendix A glossary?
Oh, yeah, I think it's probably fair to just keep it a little more broad than that. Did that move on
From the sources.
There was
Yeah,
no.
from the
Applicable sources,
Okay.
Yeah, make sure the definitions are, spelled out word for word from the applicable sources.
Second.
Okay, Dominic, we got a second, Dominic?
Yep, we have motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Being done, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Van Dalen,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson,
Abstain.
Jefferson,
No.
Roseary,
Yes.
Barton.
Yeah.
It passes.
Great. And that was just for the climate items. Is that correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, we do have a couple more that we discussed from last time. Item number 11, EDI at affordable housing. We did that. The next one that probably needs a little discussion is item number 13, low income housing. A reference, and this was an out of date definition. So confirm the existing definition of low income housing is outdated. It's been replaced in state law by affordable housing. In this RCW. So what we did was update the definition of affordable housing and then remove low income housing since that's an out of date definition.
Yeah, could you scroll down just a little bit so I can see that yeah, if you could, right there, that's perfect. Rural housing, residential housing. And that's the literal wording of that RCW?
Yes, it is. And I can double check, but that's what I tried to do is do the exact wording.
Great, I would be comfortable with that.
Okay, perfect. And then for open space, item number 15, dug into this a little bit more. There are a lot of open space definitions. We have open space corridors, open space land, green belts which reference open space, and then green space. And I wasn't quite sure what the motion was, if it was just to try and differentiate these more or address public versus private accessibility, to try and help differentiate some of the difference. I went ahead and expanded the definition of open space land. Let me just put it so it's like a one. This is the full RCW instead of trying to condense it. So
Nice.
I'm not sure if that was what you were looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I think just generally definitions of looking for something that's like, broadly accepted and is technically correct. And something that's, if we're just quoting the RCW, that sounds like that meets both those things.
Okay.
Wait,
Perfect.
give me a minute just to read it here, sorry.
Sorry.
Not less than 1 acre. We didn't talk about was the tree canopy 5 acres, 75%. Which I'm just thinking about now with, we got the 1 acre there, but I think there's a note in that said that was sort of, you had to come up with some number, and so that was the number. Anyways, no, it's neither here nor there. Good, this was good to me.
Great, thank you. Item number 16, we talked about whether we want to call out the specific phrasing of Washington or not for per capita vehicle miles traveled. We talked about how this is just a mathematical calculation. So it could be worded like this to just remove the word Washington.
Yeah, what could be?
Okay. And then the next one, item number 17 would be productive. It's an existing term. It does come from chapter 8, resource lands, and it's specifically about productive land. So productive timber, agriculture, and fishery and forestry lands. So if you wanted to roll in some of the other things like goods and crops and other commodities, this is some suggested language. So capable of economically producing resource-based goods such as timber, fiber, or food products.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Great. Okay, and this is already covered by the previous motion.
I got a comment on that one. What
Go
about
ahead.
like what about like gravel, things like that, some of our other, mineral resource lands that we identify?
Yeah. Is mineral resources in a different chapter? This one was specifically for chapter 8 resource lands.
No, it's in the same chapter, Maddie. Why
Okay.
don't you just add minerals before timber?
Great.
That would address it.
We should sell it as asbestos.
Okay, so I added mineral there. And then we're down to item number 19, and I believe this is Lucas's item.
All right, so item number 19, that was the projected graph. I'm going to share it with you here just a second. I had discussion with County Council Finance Department. There you go. Are you seeing the figure 16.5 on the screen there? Anybody hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
You're good.
Yep.
Sorry. So I had a discussion with county finance, and that projection out assumes 4.6 turnover rate then that rate was approved by county finance in 2024 during the update of the CIP. So that's why it's 4.7. That rate could be updated in 2026 when we update the CIP. This is a snapshot in time. It's projection. We're aware that it may not be correct. However, historically, starting in 1993, going up to 2023, the turnover rate has been 7%. So the 4.6 actually comes in quite a bit under the historic rate.
Lucas, I hear you there. I'm just like drawing a line there with my head of through that data points, and my line would actually be like, it'd be like a negative. From the left to the right, it would be actually like, right? If I was trying to average all those data points.
Not sure that I'm following you.
So you got a graph, and your graph goes up and down, all over the place. You can do some calculations to be like, where's your best fit line? Where you're finding your most average, like, oh, to predict the future, your line's gonna look like this. And you can calculate whatever, you can use some lines and curve, or in just whatever, simpler math, you can have a straight line. So when I just look at that, like the numbers that are in the last 25 years, from 2020 to 2025, like the best fit line goes from left to right and is either flat or is slightly declining. Which says to me that if you were to take all those numbers and average them out and draw a line, you wouldn't have a line that has almost an exponential growth there, which is what we have. You'd have a line that's either flat or declining for the next 20-year period.
Right, because there are these big bumps and these big drops, right?
Right.
Yeah. I can't say what the future holds. This is a projection. We can only look back and see those things. Some of those big bumps were influenced by larger sales within the county that happened, and some of those dips are due to economic factors. At best, this is a projection. We will update this again in 10 years. The CIP is the more correct, precise projection, which is what we update every 2 years.
John, like that. Do you have any questions for that?
I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. It looks like it goes up and down, and all the other ones that went up and down, they kind of picked the middle and picked kind of an average because it goes up and down. This one was the only one that they decided to just have it exponentially go up. So I think it's wrong. I can't see the numbers behind any of it. I don't know that I have anything else to say besides I can't imagine this is what it will actually look like.
Maybe it's just positive thinking.
There we go. We're being hopeful here.
It's I would say that in the period from 2000 to 2024, the lowest that the turnover rate has been was in 2011. And at that time, the turnover rate was 3.11%.
I think the confusion is not the percentage, it's the dollar amount. So I don't know the percentage. I can't see the percentage. All I can see is these dollar amounts, and these dollar amounts are going up and down. If there was a chart that was based on the percentage, that may look different.
We can ask finance to see if they can give us a chart like that, if that would help you guys. But this is finance's recommendation, so they run the
They're
show.
gonna turn that back and
They
say,
run the
this is
show.
what we gave you.
Right,
Yeah. I can certainly
Well,
ask for that.
If they can perform to this chart, I'll be very impressed.
There we go.
I'll tell Randy, I'll bet you $1 in 20 years. If you can hit these numbers, I'll give you $1. If you can't hit those numbers, you give me $1.
What's a dollar gonna be worth in 20 years? It'll be like a penny. They'll just
Well, according to this chart, now it's gonna work.
talking about, but you continue them.
I'm sorry, was that satisfactory
Yeah, no.
enough? Okay.
Yeah,
Hit the next one, Lucas.
Item 20, the Birch Blaine Birch Bay Park reworded that section. We reworded it just to show that first sentence taken out. I looked at the Blaine Birch Bay Parks master plan, and it is exactly what we copied in there. That sentence that if you read it, it's a little challenging, but it eventually did make sense to me after reading it several times. It was a cut and paste from them. So I have talked with them. They're wonderful. They're very communicative, but we're comfortable with their wording. We just took out that first sentence that maybe made a little less sense than the rest of it. Item 21, green infrastructure. We discussed this a little bit. As the schools update their capital facility plans and include green infrastructure, we will then include it in the CFP. Until then, we won't. And then finally, the Lake Padden. It is not a source of water for Bellingham drinking water at the moment. It is a source of water for the water treatment plant. But Bellingham does own legacy water rights to Lake Padden, which theoretically they could use. Is that clarifying on that one?
Yeah, that was interesting. I didn't know about it feeding Fairhaven, so thanks for that.
Yeah, I didn't either. And I believe that covers it.
Do you have your hand up there?
I had my hand up. Yep, like Lucas said, those were all of the commissioner amendments that we received. So happy to answer any other questions though.
I think that was it.
I think we covered it. I think we covered it.
You want to just make a preliminary recommendation on the appendices motion, and then we can package that.
I'll make a motion that we do that.
I will second that motion.
Okay.
Eileen, do you have the wordings?
Preliminary accept the appendices and move on to council.
Yep,
Very good. Well done.
good job.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to preliminary accept the appendices and move it on to council. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Eileen, would you call the roll call, please?
Yes, Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Barton.
Yeah.
It passes.
Director Bertoni, anything else from us tonight?
I do not, just, we'll see you Thursday. For the
2 days.
For the housing element, yeah.
Right, so.
Groundhog's Day all over again.
Excellent. Did we close it or do we need?
Have we closed the meeting yet?
Not yet.
Okay, because I have a comment after the meeting's closed.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned.
So stop the recording, even if there's that kind of comment.
If, are you all gonna vote against anything I